let's look at our boy Nathan Pearson with his 4-1 War Horde list at teams, where he only took a loss in the final round. Very respectable. So we go to a Beast Boss, a Ghazghkull, and a Painboy. All right, no Big Mac here, lads. Just a Painboy with follow me. 3 war bosses, 10 snaggers, 20 boys, 3 trucks, double breakers, double 5-man flash kits for the 2 SWAT teams, 2 Gretchen, 1 Mando, and then the Knob, followed by 2 5-mains of Storm Boys. Boy, this list is out here looking like a list from 18 months ago, and I love it. Well, I guess they didn't have Breaker Boys back then, but you know what I'm saying, with the triple war bosses leading elite units and the SWAT teams. And he said, hey, shout out to all the gits that have been talking about, well, I want to use my Painboy instead of the Big Mac. You know, I don't really favor that fancy fast. Well, now you got your tough one. Keep the Painboy and still do the same thing. As we've said in the past, right? You can still tech into this as if it's your preference. But since we're playing teams, he very much had a concept in mind that he needed to keep. So I appreciate that. But it is different. It is a bit of a different call. So we got a lot of the basics here, and I'm happy to see it. What I'm a little interested to not see is, you know, this war boss being maybe another snag up boy unit, right? That's what we're seeing a lot of times. So, you know, to anybody who's watching this, maybe you don't want to use knobs. A very simple change you can make is 10 snaggers instead of the 5 knobs in the war boss. And this list was very, very popular even in singles. So awesome. And that's his list. So let's go over his path to victories, because he has a lot of the fundamentals here on his list, and I'm happy to see it. Another person I'm happy to see is the red ones go faster. Whoa! To this get, you know, our videos did great together. We collabed together. He's getting everybody really pumped and hype up for 11th edition. Shout out to Red Ones. We did talk about the ones that go faster today. So of course, nice to see you getting stuck in. So let's look at his. Let me make sure I didn't click the wrong. No, I did. Yay. All right. So we have Emperor's Children. This is just like so clean, guys, right? Is this aesthetically just boom, boom, whole list, no fat. Double Demon Prince with Slanesh wings, triple Lord of whatever Confedis, I forgot their names. They pretty much act like war bosses. They supercharge themselves once and then get stuck in. 2 5-man units of Tormentors, some Flawless Blades, 3 6-man units of Noise Breens, a Chaos Spawn, a Land Raider. Oh, I haven't seen that before. And then triple Rhino. Whenever we've kind of had this matchup, War Horde does have some favorable things here. Typically, these winged demon prints are very tough. War Horde can push through on that. The fights on death pull down these units that are actually hoping to be heat-seeking missiles, delete you, and then come and do it again. You know, there's not really a lot of variables that they can have in here. It's demon princes, run up, draw your assets. They countercharge you with their supercharged Lord dude and some noise marines hitting you. And then they hope that they've killed enough for your army and that something can fall back and do it again. And that these Slanesh with wings are not. But if you set up your wall properly, you know, with Nathan did, and we don't know what the mission was, which I would like to know. Which also helps to see like how could I actually bait these guys. You can pull them down quite drastically with a War Horde list, but keep in mind, never let this army get the initiative on you as an orc player, right? So very important that you still do have the basic understanding of this is where I at least would like my knobs. Knobs flash kits would feel a little bit more better in this matchup. This is a touch and go kind of game because though orcs do have the advantages because their fights on death, whenever an army can take initiative from you, you got to be careful, orcs. So great job on that one, Nathan. And then we go into his second game. I like this list. I like it for singles too. His list, Nathan's list. So he's playing the leagues of Votann. So he has a call, a strategist, and then Uthar. We have 10-man units of Hexmark Destroyers. They can split in combat squad with their little Sachitar. Quite tough little transport. 2 3-man units of Brokir Thunderkin. 2 10-man units of the Zerkers. You know, these are the kind of units I actually appreciate when they don't require a character. They do good damage. They have built-in feel-no pains and stuff like that. Fun for the orcs to crump, in my opinion. They're not as tough as they used to be, so we clear them a little easier than before. Then he has a big 10-man unit of their version of Terminators in the Hearthguard, followed by 2 5-man units of Hearthguard, and then 2 Land Fortress. So typically how this army plays is in the past, they'll come forward with their Sachitars. Things will disembark from these Sachitars and make some sort of screen. You barrel into the screen, and the screen creates a pocket for the Terminators to jump down, and then the Terminators combined arms you, create a big hole in the battlefield, and then push through that hole. In this this one, he doesn't have the screens. He just has I have all damage dealing units, which is then you're challenging orcs to just meeting you on the wall, right? Because Leagues of Votann isn't fast in that case. So though they do have the damage, right? The big thing to worry about in this matchup is like these berserkers. These Hearthguard, if they get a good line of sight to you with these grenade launchers onto your 20-man unit of gas brick, they can pop sustain, they get blast, and they just blow away your gas brick. Very reliable. So there is a sense of urgency of occupying the board space and crashing into them somewhat at your first opportunity. Also, how these lists tend to play, not that I've played too many Leagues of Votann recently, is that they use these hackathons kind of as, well, come try and pop me. Oh, I can do that, right? Orcs are like, we can do that. Oh, thank you very much. So not sure exactly how this game went, but when you don't have the screen types of things going on and you're just like, well, I have these big tough things and you're going to come get them. If you don't come get them, if I don't put them forward as a Leagues player, then the orc just takes all the table space, right? So he kind of has to come forward in that way, and it leads to charges and wrapping and pile-ins and jailing them to a certain degree and then continuing the pressure. So especially when he has a bunch of those 3-man trucks and such, right? Those little trucks moving around and SWAT teams. So awesome. Then we go into his third game, which is the Demons. He said, the power of friendship. That's funny. He has one great unclean with endless gifts. That's now only a 5-up, feel no pain. And then he has the Kairos, followed by a Lord of Change, Rodriguez, and Scarbrand. So this guy did get a buff. I think both of them did to their shooting. So it's like flat 3 damage. In their shooting capability, I believe the Kairos can actually do indirect. So you do have to be careful about that. Rodriguez has buffs of like -1 OC to your units, and then Scarbrand's just Scarbrand, right? And then he can also give +1, I think, damage and strength, or I think it was damage and something else to a unit nearby. So you can buff units too. So he has a Nurgling, 2 10 units of Plague Bearers, triple Beast of Nurgle, and then a Flesh Hound. This historically, from all the addition, when you're playing this kind of demons, and you bring the tools of I'm just going to kill big stuff with alongside Gaz for his lethals, these guys don't have much choice but to play the game with their big demons, and they kind of get crashed into, right? So there was only a couple times in the game when they had like the 6-inch drop ins and stuff like that, where it could be a harder matchup, but for the most part, if they're going to stand on the plate in front of you and let you crash into them, you're going to do it. So that's a favorable matchup for the orc. Got a big 100 there. Nice to see that. Then he gets another big score in his 4th game. Yeah, right here in chat. Shout out to my boy Kevin. Kairos could always indirect, and Rodriguez can take you to 0C even if it's already 1. So that's cool. So he can minus you completely to 0. So of course the boys can go down to 1. And then Kairos could always indirect. I just mean now his indirect is more killy, from what I understand. So shout out to Kevin. Hope you get top demon this year. So then we go into his last. Oh no, this is his 4th game. Sorry, I was like, hold on, I don't know. I was like, I don't think he'd lose this one. Just threw me on my head for a second. I was like, this game 5? No, this is game 4. Similar to kind of like how Demons matchup could go, where it's, well, let's look. We have a Canis Rex, who did get a ton of debuffs, still an awesome data sheet, followed by 2 units of the Knight Atropos. So these guys are devastatingly killy for the most part into like other vehicles and such like that, but they also have 24-inch range. So they have to kind of get into what orcs would consider threat range to get their stuff off. 3 units of Helvrin. So this is their autocannon one. So this is like long range. I think when they hit you, you're -1 to hit. You're like suppressed now or something, but not ideal when the orc matchup here. A Cladius Assassin, followed by an Emulator with Sisters of Battle, so he can play the mission. But the score says a 95-point win. You got Gaz, you got Breakers, you got Snaggers. You're hoofing it up the field and getting stuck in, crashing into that army as soon as they start playing the mid-game mission. So something favorable, awesome matchup for the orcs when they're playing. When you're playing this, the fundamental orc archetype of War Horde with all the anti, it helps a lot. Then we go into his last game, where he actually, and also what I say for Knights is, I would know some people historically would have issues with Knights. I know the mission comes into context and such, but with the list that Nathan brought, he has all the tools to redundantly just tear down anything. If one of those Knights even starts to play the game, he's getting destroyed. And those little autocannon Knights aren't reliable like for damage dealing to any real degree. I mean, they might even fail to kill a truck without any support. So they're just hoping to like survive long enough to score points. So yeah, not throwing it away. you can have struggles with night games, but once you have all the gets and the tools and redundantly, you can crump. Then we go into the last one. So this is where he actually loses the game, but he lost to the person who did best at the event, right? That's always saying, okay, well, at least I only lost to the biggest. We go into the Space Wolves playing Gladius. So we have Jack Roth. This is really just a crumpy Terminator character. Lieutenant with Combi, Logan Grimnar, and Ragnar Blackmane. 1 10-man unit of Blood Claws, an Intercessor Squad, a Ballistus Dreadnought, a unit of Centurion Devastators. That's an interesting choice for fire support, but I guess when you're playing Gladius, you get access to like advancing and shooting or falling back and shooting, so it could be interesting. 5-man unit of Fenrisian, you got a Land Raider Redeemer. But this is a bit of a different style of Space Wolfie list. Scout, a Vindicator, and then 2 units of Terminators, one as a 5-man, and then one as a big 10-man unit of Terminators, possibly with Arjak Rockfist. So in Gladius, of course, they can advance and charge, they can fall back and do stuff. They get access to awesome stratagems, they can get Lance when they charge and additional AP. They can do fire support, like that gives additional ignore cover and shooting and such. So you can really do a little bit of it all. He only brought Space Wolves for the named characters, which is nice to see. Logan on there with his new data sheet. So a bit of a different stuff. Just a couple of the Terminators with the Blood Claws, and then fire support, right? This nice, old, reliable Vindicator, not Vindicator, sorry. I meant Gladius fire support. Vindicator, a Land Raider Redeemer, and then Centurion Squad. I can see the Centurion Squad. Because when you call Logan, from what I remember, I don't think it's changed, but when you call Logan's one game ability, their version of the wall, they get access to reroll charges and I believe reroll hits and melee from the Logan's ability, right? I should pull that up, make sure I'm not lying. Chat, you can correct me, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly how this went. But then that kind of diminishes the value of Oath for the Space Wolf player because they're like, well, on my go turn, I'm kind of already rerolling hits. That's where they kind of build in some rerolls. Now, the Ballistus can already do its own rerolls. So that's the first one to go. Chip thing, something's full health potential. But then you also still have the Vindicator and you have the Centurions. Now, I know Centurions can already reroll once to hit, and if you're on an objective, they can reroll the whole hit roll. But I'm saying just for availability of use and appreciation, you can like that. So that gives your Oath something to do. Now he gets an Vect. Okay, well that's not good either until Orcs, really. That's his old rule. Okay, and then he can bring in Extract Reserve early. Oh yes, that's what he does. That's what the fun of the Terminators. How could I forget that? So you can bring in the Terminators turn 1. Oh my god. Which is fantastic for fun, annoying ingress. So he has Arjak and Logan to deal with these units, and then one of them can bring in from reserves, and then he has the Vect Aura. So he can drop that big unit in your face. You don't kill it. He Vex you so that you have less ability to, offensively throttle into it or defensively try to endure it or fighting on deaths. And then on top of that, he can fall back and charge you again if he's in that kind of situation. So this is one of those things, as I've talked about on other lists, like when I'm talking about Green Tide or Orcs as a whole, there are those armies, and Space Wolves sometimes ends up being one of them, where they do combined arms really well. And if you let them fall back and keep hitting you, sometimes the Thunderwolf will be this unit that does this as well. More recently, it's been these Terminators, because the Terminators have 4 wounds, 2 up armor save, dirt cheap. So it's just, I can totally see how this list was kind of functioning, even though I messed up Ragnar's rolls for a little bit. Sorry, guys. It happens when you play. And then it's been around for a while. Not Ragnar, sorry. Logan Grimnar's. But he does also still have Ragnar. And Ragnar crumps. And when he's with a unit of Blood Claws, I believe he gets an additional Blood Claw buff. That is his best one. I think, is it Renal Wounds or Ragnar? Like when he's with Blood Claws, he gets something specifically. Now I'm like, I don't want to say a rule and it'd be wrong. Let me just read it. What's up, guys, in the chat? My computer's going slow. Yeah, when he's in Blood Claws, he rerolls the wound. Okay, I was right. So then Ragnar, he gets off when he's fighting, because he gets strength 8 attacks, 6 -3, 2 damage to sustain 1. That's insane. Ugh, what did GW do to our epic characters, right? Right here, red ones, I agree with you. 3 superhero characters, 3 epic characters, and we can't match that in 10th. Got rid of our Rot, Snickra, Badrook, and Zagstruck. Yeah, I know, right? That's the one thing that I kind of feel bad about. I'm looking at this, I'm like, dude, Ragnar, what the? How is your one basic 100-point dude supposed to be the one going toe with our Gaz. So it happens. But this was a pretty decently thought out list from that Scott guy. Good combined aspect. Everybody's supporting each other. Things are quite durable. Terminators 2-up, Ballistas Dreadnought 2-up, Centurions, Land Raiders, Vindicators. So you're just spamming 2-up armor saves. Once the wall goes, there's not much you can do there. And when you have the Logan ability to ingress earlier, that means then you can also kind of take advantage of your deployment or your positioning and staging. Things get tough. So shout out to you, Nathan. No problem there with losing that one. Great job on your run regardless with your War Horde list. I think you're interesting to see that you took the Painboy instead, and I think it also suitable for singles. So awesome to see a Beast Boss, Gaz, a Painboy with Follow Me Lads, triple War Bosses, a Beast Snaggaboy 10-man, a 20-man, triple truck, 2 SWAT teams, which is a Breaker Boy and a Flash Gits, 2 10-man units of Gretchen, a Mando unit with the rocket launcher and the reaching ram, and then 1 unit of knobs with power claws, and 2 units of Storm Boys. Keeping it nice, lean, and mean, baby. Shout out to our sponsors, the Baron of Dice, as they helped us do our wall tactic dice. So shout them out. Check them out in the description, 5% off in the discount because nobody likes taxes. And shout out to Baron of Dice. They allow us to do our paint competition. So thank you very much to them. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!